They say that fear is what keeps us alive. You know, that gut punch feeling when you're all alone and hear a sound behind you. Suddenly, your heart's racing and you're ready to bolt. Fear is like this inbuilt bodyguard, but also like that annoying friend that jumps at small things. Nonetheless, fear is universal too. Cavemen used to dodge saber-toothed tigers, and we sweat bullets over work presentations. Basically the same wiring, but with slightly different threats. With all that being said, today we're diving into the psychology of fear. What it is, where it comes from, and why it makes your stomach churn, but somehow we still pay money to be scared out of our wits. Now then, let's begin. Alright, so picture this. You're alone in your room at night, with the lights off, perhaps on your phone. And all of a sudden, boom, a loud noise sounds and it makes you jump right out of your bed. That, my friends, is fear doing its thing. Basically, the equivalent of your brain pulling an alarm. At its core, fear isn't some mysterious, scary monster. It's your body's built-in warning system, and the second your brain thinks that there's danger, it flips a switch and flirts you with adrenaline. On a side note, I say brain, but actually we're referring to the amygdala, a tiny almond-shaped part of the brain which processes emotions, with one of them in particular being fear. For example, when you're crossing the road and a car just happens to swerve a little too close to you, well, the amygdala fires off signals which causes you to, hopefully, react in time to avoid an accident. We call this kind of fear rational fear, and it's the same kind that kept our ancestors from becoming a saber-toothed next meal. Basically, survival instincts. It's why when you're in an area that's known to have high crime rate, you're instinctively wary about the people around you. Or when you're driving and something flashes across your eyes, you instinctively slam on the brakes. It is an intrinsic, primal fear, which worked for our ancestors and most definitely works for us. And then we have irrational fears, and oh boy do we have many. Like how a tiny cockroach chilling in the corner of the room can make us scream like our lives depend on it. Or when we have to give a presentation and it feels like we are facing death incarnate. These fears aren't exactly life and death, but your amygdala doesn't always know the difference, so it's just doing its job, sometimes just a little too enthusiastically. All that's to say that fear is really just a mix of survival instincts and over-the-top reactions to stuff that's not exactly always harmful to us. Now that we know what fear is, let's take a step back in time, like way back, when our ancestors were fighting for their lives on a daily. Fear was basically like the OG survival kit, hardwired into us all the way back since then. Rustling in the bushes? That might be a predator. Snakes slithering on the floor? It might be venomous. These fears and more are hard-baked into our DNA because, well, being eaten by a predator or being bitten by a venomous snake was a one-way ticket to a game over. Our brains learned real fast to avoid the scary stuff, stay alive, and pass on these genes. Fast forward to today, we're not dodging predators in the wilderness anymore, but our brains are still hard-coded to that old-school fear software. Heights can still make your stomach churn, and loud noises most definitely still make us flinch. But that's our caveman brain kicking in. Here's the interesting part though. Our fears have evolved in the modern era. Social rejection, public speaking, even that nagging "did I turn off the switch" panic are now our new predators. Our brains are still wired to protect us, but now they're fighting Wi-Fi crashes, awkward calls, and getting left on read. As the kids say, what a time to be alive. So you're all alone, walking home in the middle of the night, and you hear a weird noise just behind you. Suddenly, your body's screaming code red. Fear doesn't just mess with your head, but throws your entire being into chaos. Supposedly, your brain's got a playbook for danger, and it's got a few moves, namely, fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Now let's break them down one by one. I'm sure everyone's familiar with the term fight or flight, with fight being when you're ready to throw down or yell at the shadow in the corner, and flight simply being when you run away. Freezing up is when your brain hits the pause button and you are unable to move. This kinda happened to me a couple days ago when a large insect flew into my room and I was in what I would call a state of shock. Lastly, we have fawning, which in plain English means sucking up to someone. The boss is angry, well, time to agree with everything he says. It's kinda insane when you think about it, how the body and mind lean into one of those moves when fear kicks in. On top of that, there's also the physical stuff, because fear doesn't just like to play subtle. Your heart's pounding like it's trying to escape your chest. Your palms are so sweaty, you can barely grip on to anything. Or, your stomach's doing backflips like it's auditioning for a circus. That's your body pumping adrenaline, preparing you to deal with what's freaking you out. Though sometimes, it can be detrimental. Basically, it's like your body telling you, we got this. Even when you're just nervous over a text you send. Because fear doesn't discriminate between a bear attack and texting your crush. So, imagine that it's a Friday movie night, and out of the hundreds of movies to choose from, you chose the one with the overly creepy doll that will 100% haunt your dreams. Or in another scenario, where you're in a theme park, and instead of the bumper cars or carousel, you immediately head towards the giant roller coaster with 5 loop-de-loops and 3 corkscrews. It really is ironic how rightfully our brain is hardwired to avoid fear. But somehow, we still pay money to be scared out of our wits. Where you're in a haunted house, jumping at every fake ghost or scare actor, your brain is mixing up a wild chemical cocktail, also known as dopamine and the aforementioned adrenaline. Adrenaline, as said earlier, prepares your body for the impending situation, which in a haunted house refers to the ghost and unsettling atmosphere. But just before fight or flight responses are about to kick in, dopamine comes in and turns all that fear into pleasure, satisfaction, and basically a reward. The key is in that all these scenarios, they are safe fears. You know that the ghost or zombie in the haunted house isn't actually out for your blood, and the roller coaster that you're riding is bolted down and safe. In some sense, it's like putting your fear into a cozy little box, where it's scary enough to get your blood pumping, but not to the point where you're actually running for your life. That's precisely why we keep coming back for more. Horror movies, escape rooms, and even scary ghost stories. They all give us a thrill without any real danger, and with dopamine acting as a reward system, it keeps us coming back, wanting more every single time. Alright, fear is great when it's saving you from sketchy situations, like dodging a speeding car. But sometimes, fear can be a menace as well, like a friend who shows up uninvited and overstays their welcome. Fear is supposed to protect us, but when that fear spirals into anxiety or straight up panic attacks, your brain's alarm system is working overtime, causing a massive overreaction. Just like a fire alarm going off over burnt toast. Suddenly, giving a simple presentation feels like facing a pack of wolves, and your heart's racing like you're in a horror movie chase scene. Take anxiety for example, where your brain worries over everything and anything. What if someone hates how I look? What if everyone looks down on me? Suddenly, you're awake at 2 AM, unable to sleep, worrying about anything and everything. Sometimes, even things beyond your control. Tie that in with panic attacks, and there's a myriad of physical symptoms which can include sweating, rapid heart pounding, trembling or shaking, and an impending sense of danger or dread. Personally, I haven't gone through any of these myself, but I have seen people who have, and it can get really out of hand, and sometimes, the only solution is seeking professional help. In general, the situations which trigger these reactions aren't actually life or death, but your brain is treating them like they are. Public speaking is no tiger attack, but when your brain starts acting like it is, the intensity of the fear really isn't keeping us safe, but making our lives harder. But here's the good news. In most cases that aren't extreme, we're not stuck in fear forever. So as we have established, fear has the potential to both be your trusty bodyguard, as well as a total buzzkill. But since we've already talked about the negatives, let's talk about good, positive fear, and how fear can be the good guy sometimes. Have you ever speed ran studying for a test because you were scared of failing? Well, regardless of results, the fear of failure pushed you to take action and study. Or maybe you gave a hug to someone just a little tighter because the thought of losing them made you realize how much they mean. That's the fear of loss making you appreciate what you've got while you still got it. The trick is really learning how to flip that fear from an anchor into fuel. It isn't easy, but once you've mastered how to do it, that nervous energy before a presentation can help you sharpen your focus, and in combination with practice, will help you crush it. Then, there's the other scenario, where fears got you completely stuck, like avoiding elevators because tight spaces freak you out. Well, there are ways to get around that too. Exposure therapy. Basically, when you gradually expose yourself to a feared object or situation, so that at the very minimum, you can live with it. So using the elevator example, you could first get used to being in an elevator, then riding it up one floor at a time. Bit by bit, you're kinda teaching your brain to relax, that it's not too scary after all. After all that being said though, there are still cases where the fear may be so severe and detrimental in a person's life that in those cases, professional help may be needed. All in all though, generally speaking, once we learn to manage our fears, it can stop feeling like a cage and more like a compass, directing and pointing us away from danger while simultaneously pushing us towards places we can grow. They say that fear keeps us alive. And yeah, that's true when saving us from real danger, like avoiding a sketchy alley. But fear's more than mere survival. It's a double-edged sword we all carry. On one side, it can be a barrier, blocking us from seemingly harmless events, like public speaking or the spider in the corner of our room. On the other, it can be a guide, pointing us away from danger and helping us through life. The trick is knowing when to listen to it and when to overcome it. From its caveman origins to the thrill of a haunted house, fear is truly an indescribable feeling that is innate within all of us. Not to get too philosophical, but to be fearful at times is only human, and to embrace fear and step out of our comfort zones is what it means to live. With all that being said, I hope you all enjoyed this video and let me know what else you want me to cover next. Thank you for watching.